All right, Bang Bang. Today is Friday. It is December 17th. Welcome to the Dog Walk, presented by Barstool Sports. It's True Crime Friday, so you know I'm sitting here with Allie. Allie, what's up?
Not much.
Not a whole lot?
Not a whole lot. We're going to get Portillo's after this. So.
Yeah, you said that. You said that.
Treat myself.
What are you going to get?
A breaded chicken.
Oh, okay.
So have you had one? I know you said you're a dog guy. But.
They have good barbecue sauce.
Really?
Yeah, have you ever tried their barbecue sauce?
No.
They have good barbecue sauce.
All right.
But yeah.
I'll try it. Mm-hmm. I'll report back.
And Allie, I hate to bring this up because obviously you're a lady, but this is for males only. If you take that and it runs through you a little bit, make sure you use dude wipes.
Oh.
Okay.
I was wondering where you're going with
yeah.
that.
So, dude wipes, it's there for you. If you go a little too hard on the Portillo's or you do whatever and it cuts through you, make sure you're going with some dude products. So they have dude showers. If you're stinking, they got the dude wipes, obviously. And I keep talking about the individualized packs because those are like lifesavers when you really need them, like when maybe you're going to go somewhere after you get this Portillo's that runs through you, and you got something to help you out so you don't have to use this scratchy, shitty old toilet paper. You could find them at dudewipes.com. If you use code BC15, you get 15% off your order. You could find everything on Amazon as well, or they're at Walmart and Target nationwide. So, Dude Wipes got a little something for everybody. And as a flushable wipes guy myself, I'm telling you, even before like Dude Wipes started advertising with us, they were the best. Like, I've used a bunch of different brands. Dude Wipes is number one. I sincerely promise you that, and that's not because I'm being paid to say that. They literally are. So go get some Dude Wipes at dudewipes.com, BC15. Also, while we're here, Christmas is around the corner. You don't want to be sitting there thinking about Frosty the fucking Snowman and different, Christmas jingles to last longer in bed. Jingle Bell rocks. It's not going to help you out. As much as I hate to break that to you, it's just not going to work. So stop these old methods and start using these smart, clinically proven methods to last longer in bed, and that's Roman swipes. They're effective, they're easy to use, and they're fast acting. They don't require prescription. They ship to you in discreet, unmarked packaging, and each swipe packet is small enough to hide in your wallet for whenever you need it. If you bring it to Christmas, no one will even know it's there. It's just hidden away in your wallet. No one will know. It's there, and it's just hidden. It's for you. It's discreet. They're super easy to use. Just take the swipe out of the packet, swipe it on, let it dry. You're good to go. That's it. To get your hands on them, go to GetRoman.com/walk. You can get your first month of swipes for just $5 when you choose a monthly plan. That's GetRoman.com/walk. Go get some swipes. Make sure you're, up to performance during this holiday break. All right, Allie, what's the topic at hand today?
Okay. Today we are talking about the murder of Sarah Stern, which is actually over, and we're taking it over to New Jersey this week. Are you familiar with this one?
Mm-mm.
Okay. This was actually, as far as like looking at true crime cases go, like a pretty recent one. Mm-hmm. Happened in 2016. So December 2nd of 2016. Sarah Stern, she was 19 years old, from Neptune City, New Jersey. She went missing. Her dad could not find her, was trying to get a hold of her. And then the night / early morning hours between December 2nd and December 3rd, so in like the very wee hours of technically December 3rd, a Uber driver who was on duty, if you will, was driving across a bridge in Belmar, New Jersey. And he noticed that there was this car sitting on the bridge and there was nobody in it. And just something in this Uber driver was like, something's not right here. Like, you see a car on the side of the road and you probably aren't going to think much of it, but for some reason this just like really stuck out to him. So he's like, I'm going to call it in and I'm going to have the police check it out. Turns out it was Sarah Stern's car, and it was completely abandoned. Sarah was nowhere in sight. The keys were actually still in the ignition too, which was, I feel like if you roll up, as if you're the police, you roll up and you see that the keys are still in the ignition, immediately you should know you have a problem here. Something is not right. Now, this was really concerning, extra concerning to police because this abandoned car with the keys still in the ignition is found on a bridge overlooking, that bridge overlooked what's called the Shark River. So it's this massive river that actually led out into the Atlantic Ocean. So they're like, oh crap, she jumped over, she went over the bridge, right? So they're initially like, okay, her car was found. The police could not find Sarah. She's obviously, we know she's missing. Her dad can't get a hold of her. And so they start to kind of look down the suicide route. Like she went over the bridge and she was carried into the ocean. And at that point, there's very little to no chance that you're going to recover a body like that that's just taken out into the ocean. Now, this, river was searched. There was nothing found. Unfortunately, there was no surveillance cameras that were like around the bridge. The bridge was on Route 35. So it wasn't like a secluded area by any means. But there was no surveillance camera around that would like capture what took place on that bridge or what didn't take place on that bridge. So, the police are kind of stuck. Again, they searched the river. They didn't find anything, but it's also this, if you look up a picture, it's a massive river. Like, it's not just like a little creek. It's a massive river. It leads out into the ocean. So, I don't know that they even expected to find anything. So the last person that was actually seen with Sarah was her childhood friend, Liam. And police, brought Liam in. They questioned him. They actually questioned him several times, but he did not give anything away that would like allude to he did anything or he was suspicious, the whole 9 yards. So being that they didn't have a body, her car was found on a bridge, the police have no evidence that Sarah was murdered. Again, they're looking at suicide. Liam is like, oh yeah, I agree. It absolutely was suicide. She was struggling lately. She was super depressed. She was fighting with her father. She was getting ready to move to Canada, like really laid into this suicide idea. Now, police had kind of looked in this and like, okay, maybe, like, why is he laying into this thing so hard? In reality, suicide was absolutely not the case at all. Sarah was brutally murdered by Liam, actually, of all people. This old, and I'm talking like childhood friend, like went to Sunday school together friend. Now, it ends up like his own big mouth ended up being his downfall in January 2017. So a little bit over a year later. Liam's former roommate, good friend, and Sarah's former prom date. So the Liam, Sarah, and this guy Preston they were all friends in high school. They all went to high school together. They were all good friends. Nobody ever really dated each other. Sarah did go to prom with Preston, but they were all good friends. Liam and Preston were really good friends. So Preston actually ended up being, Liam's accomplice in this just brutal murder of Sarah. Now, prosecutors argued that the two of them, or Liam mostly, had planned Sarah's murder for up to 6 months. So they had been really thinking this one through. It's interesting, though, because like in this case, when we see similar cases like this where you've got similar circumstances, it's usually some sort of emotional, like domestic assault, aggressiveness, battery, that kind of thing, domestic abuse, or it's a sexual motive, something of that nature. This was not either of those. And this was, which is where I say like none of them ever dated each other. There was no like love triangle going on, nothing. It was actually, so Sarah's mom had passed away a couple years prior from cancer, and Sarah ended up inheriting money from her mom passing away. And Liam knew this. And Liam was like, I want that money. And I'm going to do whatever it takes to get it. So, yeah, like.
What?
Like, that is where I'm like, okay, this is, I didn't do a lot of digging into Liam's childhood, but this has got to be a nature thing, where there is something in your head where you're like, oh yeah, I'll just murder my childhood friend because I want your money. Like,
that's not even like a family thing where like you could feel like at one point you were entitled to it.
Oh,
you know
yeah.
what I mean?
No.
Like there's not even that factor. That's crazy.
He like just straight up, he's just like, I'm going to get that money and if I have to kill her, okay. Like, so be it. And Liam knew this money was stored in a lockbox in Sarah's house. And again, he was willing to do whatever it took to get it. Now, so on December 2nd, the day she went missing, Liam and Sarah had actually met up to go get food. They ran a couple errands, and then they went back to Sarah's house. Now, when they went back to Sarah's house, Liam had just basically just like was like, all right, let's do it, and attacked Sarah. He started to strangle her, and he strangled her so hard that she was, basically like dangling from her feet. Like she was hanging. Not upside down, but like her feet were no longer on the ground. Like the anger and the aggression that has to come out of that is absurd. Mm-hmm. And again, to steal the lockbox, like, okay. Now, Liam did admit he was like, this took me a lot longer than I thought it would. Like, he was like, oh, I just thought it would take, like 30 seconds and boom. Like you see in the movies, like, boom, done. He was like, no, it took a really long time. And all of a sudden, he was in the middle of strangling her and she actually started to have a seizure. And so Liam didn't want her to throw up. So we decided, I'm going to stuff a shirt in her mouth and I'm going to plug her nose to make sure she doesn't throw up and to like finish killing her. It was just like this brutal, disgusting, like, I don't know what was going through his mind, but this is like horrible, horrible situation here. And for some reason, he decided he was going to time it. Like he started the timer on his phone and just decided to see like, oh, this is taking me a lot longer than I thought. Let's see how long it actually takes. Like this is where I'm talking about. He's ill in the head. There is a screw loose in his head. Now, after it was all said and done, Sarah was dead. It took Liam about a half an hour. And then he was like, well, I got to go to work. So he hid her body in some bushes behind her house and then just went to work. Like nothing had happened and carried on about his day. Now, later that night, and this is where Preston comes in, Liam and Preston, Liam gets off work. Him and Preston go back to Sarah's house to dispose of the body and to get the lockbox that had the money in it. Liam had, he'd been planning this for like 6 months. So he had his whole plan. He was obviously very cool, calm, and collected about it. He took Sarah's body and he put it into the passenger seat of her car and he buckled her in. So it looked like she was just like sleeping in the passenger seat. Now, again, this was like at night. So it was dark. Like people aren't going to see if she's got injury to her and stuff. People are maybe passing by and like, oh, that person is sleeping. Mm-hmm. So he gets in. He had also like previously paid attention to how Sarah drove her car, meaning like he knew she always backed out of the driveway. So he got in the driver's seat and he like backed out of the driveway. And I say this because like surveillance cameras show, Liam and Sarah coming in after they were running errands, Liam leaving for work. It shows Sarah's car backing out of the driveway, but you can't see who's driving it. So that was initially like a little bit of a snag because they were like, well, maybe what if it was Sarah driving it? Like, and that kind of played into their whole suicide thing, right? Because they're like, well, Sarah backed out of the driveway. But then it was like, oh, we can't actually tell who's driving that car. So now Liam and Preston are in the car. Sarah's buckled into the passenger seat, even though she's dead. But they drive to this bridge. Now, Liam, again, struggled more than he thought. So he said he got out of the car and he was got Sarah's body and was trying to hoist her over the bridge. He was trying to toss her over the bridge. But one, there was the cars that were driving by. And he said he was like, yeah, I had to wait for the cars to pass so I could toss her body over. Like, again, just saying it so casually. It's like, oh yeah, I had to wait for the cars to pass. Like, at any point, somebody could have absolutely seen him, but he waited for the cars to pass, and then he was struggling. He actually wasn't strong enough to like hoist her body over the bridge. So that's where Preston, came in and helped him. And he's like, the two of them together threw Sarah's body over the bridge. Now, more likely than not, Sarah was probably carried out into the ocean, which is why they didn't find anything when the river was searched. Once it was all said and done, they got into Preston's car. Sorry, I was incorrect when I said they were both in the car. Preston was driving behind them. Liam was in Sarah's car. So all is said and done. They leave Sarah's car there. Liam's like, oh, I'm going to leave the keys in the ignition to throw police off a little bit, make them wonder what's going on. And then they get into Preston's car and they drive off into the night. Like, they didn't have a care in the world. So they're just going about, they're going about their lives. Now, prior to all this happening, Liam had actually made these like really weird comments to one of his friends, Anthony Curry. And he was, he had mentioned to Anthony like, oh, I plan on killing a girl. I plan on throwing her body off a bridge like you see in the movies. And just these very concerning comments. And really, Anthony, I guess, must have not really thought anything of it at first. And then he heard what happened to Sarah, and he's like, this might have been him. Obviously, knowing that him and Sarah are really good friends. So Anthony goes to the police, concerned that, one, what Liam was saying was actually true, and he was the one who killed Sarah. So the police, they're like, all right, this is what we're going to do. We want you to kind of become our informant, basically. So they start working with Anthony, and they're like, we need to get like a formal confession. We need to get something on him in order to pin it on him. Again, because they have not a lot to go off of at this point. So Anthony's like, yeah, of course I'll work with you. Anthony got Liam into his car and, unsuspiciously, and little did Liam know, but Anthony was actually recording him secretly. Liam had no problem confessing. He spilled the beans. Like, it was almost like he wanted to talk about this. He wanted to like brag about it. And Liam confessed. He gave the whole, proudly telling the story in extremely gory detail. Like, he was like, oh, like I said, he was like, oh, she was basically like hanging by the time I was finished choking her. The whole 9 yards, just like super gory detail. And actually, I take that back. Not gory detail as far as like blood and guts go. More so like how proud he was of how he enjoyed it. And he was like bragging about it and to be like, oh yeah, I thought it was going to take me so much longer. Or, just these like disgusting statements that he was making. And he was talking about it. He also had mentioned like, this is just his own stupidity. He was like, once I got the lockbox, I got the money. He was like, I thought I was going to be walking out of there with $100,000, $50,000. Like, he was like, all I got was maybe $10,000. Like, I didn't even get, he was like, I got enough to live comfortably and throw parties. Like, I didn't get enough to be set for the rest of my life. And he was like mad about it. Like, one, you're dumb.
Yeah.
Two, are you kidding me? So now they've got like, Anthony's got this full on video of him confessing and like in detail. Police were still struggling a little bit with the fact though, because again, you've got a homicide case, originally looked at as a suicide case. And it's really hard to make a homicide case come full term when you don't have a body. It's super hard. Now, police still needed like something else. So they decided that they were going to target Preston. So they like struck gold with Preston. They got him in. He pled guilty. He, confessed into his involvement in it. He confessed that he helped throw Sarah's body off of the bridge. And he was actually then, he pled guilty. Preston actually pled guilty. So he told him all the details. He pled guilty to throwing Sarah's body off the bridge, robbery, conspiracy to commit robbery, tampering with physical evidence, hindering apprehension. So he had a lot of things that were like, he was definitely, just because he confessed, he was not getting off scotch clean. But he did agree to testify against Liam in court, which he did. So February 2nd, 2017, so a little over a year after Sarah was murdered, Liam was charged officially. He was charged with first-degree murder, first-degree felony murder, first-degree robbery, second-degree desecration of human remains, second-degree conspiracy to desecrate human remains, and second-degree hindering apprehension. Now, that video was played in court for the jurors to watch. So they watched him confess, proudly, in detail, no remorse, not bothered by it whatsoever. And so, again, like we were talking about kind of the same thing last week, in last week's episode, it was like the jury can see this and they're going to be like, well, there you have it. Like, you can't really refute that, right? That was coming directly from Liam, and it's very clear of how he feels about it. Now, on top of that video being played, again, Preston also agreed to testify against Liam in Liam's case, and so it was kind of lock and key from there. Liam was found guilty on all accounts, and he was ultimately sentenced to life in prison, no possibility of parole. That is where he will, sit and rot away for the rest of his life, as he should. Now, Preston, on the other hand, was actually only given 18 years in prison for his involvement. And he's actually set to be released in 2032. So almost 10 years. Now, we could go back and forth about this whole 18 years thing, because there has been some uproar in the media of like, oh, they're not going to, he was an accomplice and his sentence will not be reduced. Like 18 years, I assume it's only 18 years because he did agree to testify. So they're kind of like, if you cooperate with us, we'll give you a little bit of a lesser sentence. Like, even if he wasn't the one at the hands of it necessarily, I mean, he still played a part in a murder.
I mean, threw a girl off a bridge.
Drove the car, was the getaway car, helped move the body, and only got 18 years because of it. But I really do think this was a situation where they're like, all right, we've got bigger fish to fry. Yes. We kind of have to let this little one.
Sadly, that's how it works. Yeah. In a lot of cases, so. But yeah, he's, a piece of shit too. What an infuriating case. I did not know about that.
Yeah.
That's infuriating because you felt entitled to her money. It's crazy.
Yeah. Because she wanted her money. And all in all, you thought you were walking out with, not that it makes it any better, even if it's $1, but
yeah, he
was like, oh, I'm getting away with $100,000, yada, yada. And he's like,
idiot.
I didn't even get away with as much as I wanted,
Yeah, what a piece of shit.
Well, now you're rotting in prison for the rest of your life, so.
Poor girl, and they'll probably never find her body.
No, her body has never been recovered, obviously. And I mean, at this point, probably will not be. I mean, you could carry it out into the ocean.
It's a big ocean.
It's a big ocean. The chance of you being found is just terrifying to think of. Yeah. But there's,
brutal. That's horrible for her. That's about as, like I said, as infuriating as it. I mean, they're all infuriating, but that's crazy.
Yeah, that one just really was. Yeah. That one I actually had a hard time writing. This came in as a listener suggestion, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm not super familiar with this case. Let me take a look at it. And as I was writing the episode, I was like, this one's tough. Yeah. This one is.
It really is. And I actually, you telling the story, I felt a little different from you today.
Yeah. It was, this one struck me a little different. I was just like, you know what, this one is, not that, like you said, not that any of them
Yeah.
are good that we tell, but this one was a hard one to
Especially
put out
childhood too. Like, what, dude?
yeah, like your childhood friend, like so many people like have this friend, like, oh yeah, we went to kindergarten together, grew up together, and then it's like, what?
It's unfathomable.
It's so crazy to me that that's the person that
That's
you
horrible,
get
man.
killed by, and she, was so blindsided from it that it just, yeah, it's terrible.
It's horrible.
But I will say at least like justice was served as heavily as it could be. So, and Liam was like, they were young when this happened. They were like 19, 20 years old. So receiving life in prison means a lot more than like if you're, 65, 70 and you're receiving life in prison. He's sitting there for a long time.
Well, it will be the majority of his life, you would think.
Yeah,
So.
more than probably. And even, I have to think that, yes, Preston's sentence was probably reduced because of his cooperation and whatnot. But, 18 years is still a very long time. Maybe not as much as he should have received more. But you also have to think of like, you can at least hope like when he gets out, it's not like he's going back to like this clean slate, right? He was just in prison for 18 years. Like that's going to stick with him for the rest of his life still, even if he is out. But who knows? We'll see. 2032, he is set to be released. So I don't know, between now and then, a lot can happen.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Damn.
Well, there you have it.
Yeah. All right. That's it for today. What a bummer to go out on here, Allie, because that's the last show until the new year. We'll be back January 7th. So obviously no show Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. So thanks everybody listening to True Crime Friday this year. We appreciate it. And we'll be back for this. We'll be back January 7th for True Crime. But right now we'll be back on Monday. We'll see you then.